What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. You would not believe the morning that we have had getting this sorted and getting this result. I'm going to keep checking down to make sure that I still have it. We're back. We're live for another edition of Matchday Reloaded. Live as it gets. Kind of, maybe. Fingers crossed here at Panenka Studios. I'm going to do another check because I just don't believe. I do not believe. I need to calm down. You know, I need to calm down is because Virgin Media, you are a disgrace. That's your fault this morning, Virgin Media. I'm not even with Virgin Media this morning. I had to run away from Virgin Media this morning to get here, to get this resolved and sorted. And you know what actually fixed it in the end? Just restart the laptop. There was a lot of buttons being pushed and all this kind of stuff. There was buttons, all this kind of stuff. There was Josh was twisting things and all that. We got there, though. We got there in the end. So we're going to go for a full hour. Don't worry. We're going to go to 10:30. I know it's a bit late. Apologies. But like any good person here on United View, I'm taking zero accountability. It is not my fault. It is a disgrace and it's a cheat, okay? I've got an engineer coming today, and I'm going to give him the wrath of the UV community. I'm going to open the door. Even if there's two of them, I'll take them both on, okay? I've got two hands. I've got two fists, okay? It's probably not a good idea to incite violence to a Virgin Media technician when they're going to fix the issue. But we're here, so it's fine. Nevertheless, guys, we're going to be talking about Manchester United through to an FA Cup final. Yes, at Wembley yesterday, 0-0, penalty shootout. How are you all feeling this morning? Are you feeling relieved? Are you feeling anxious because you know what awaits us? First ever time in a FA Cup final, we're going to have a Manchester derby. Yes, we're going to have Manchester City versus Manchester United. First ever time, and frankly, it's in our hands. There's all this talk that's really only picked up over the last few weeks, hasn't it? About, you know, the treble and City winning the league, the Champions League and the FA Cup. And let's face it, you know, I appreciate all of the support and help this morning, Josh, but Arsenal aren't going to win the league. So now it's up to us. It's up to us to stop Manchester City. And I've already seen some people say, you know what? It's good that we got to the final, but we can't do it. We can't stop City. Don't touch anything, Josh. Don't touch anything because of the morning that we've had. Don't. He actually is going to touch something as well, and he did. Well, if something breaks now, if all the lights stop, it's his fault. But yes, we can stop Manchester City, certainly. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat as well this morning. Saying, Joe, one of our members says, drop kick them, Owen. If you think I'm capable of a drop kick with my agility, you are sorely mistaken. Lil Yo-Yo says, Owen versus Virgin Media, pay-per-view. Well, even if I tried to order the pay-per-view from Virgin Media, wouldn't probably work because not only my broadband doesn't work, my television doesn't work as well. I've only had it a few months. I was watching I'm fully off the rails this morning. I was watching it on BBC yesterday. BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, yeah? You have to pay a license fee for it over here in England. I could barely get that on my television yesterday. I'm sitting there, I'm watching the TV, and it's all like crackly. And I was like, wait, but isn't this basic? Basic. Oh, I'm telling you, fuming, you know. I was nearly like expressions after a 6-1 lost. I was absolutely furious. But I am going to talk about the game. We're going to be talking about, get some player quotes, some manager quotes, some reactions, etc. Let's start off with David De Gea. Of course, I can't really say penalty shootout hero because he kind of wasn't. David De Gea's penalty shootout record is not great. And that kind of was evident yesterday. In fact, I went back to watch the highlights of the penalty shootout because sometimes when you're in the moment, you're not really paying a ton of attention to it. Emotions are kind of running wild. And I thought, I'm going to go back and I'm going to see, was David De Gea close to a couple of them? How did he do? Now, the first 3 or 4 penalties, he's somewhat close. And they were good penalties. It was more as the penalty shootout went on because, 6-7 in the end, the final result. The last, shall we say 3 or 4 penalties, he basically did the same dive every single time, which was just... went the wrong way. Brighton did the same penalty for 3 penalties in a row, and then they hit it over the bar. David De Gea, in terms of a penalty shootout, not really his forte, not really his game. But I do think with David De Gea, in fairness to him, I do think he reacted yesterday. He had a really poor Thursday, obviously. Whether you believe he was at fault for the first goal, the Harry Maguire thing against Sevilla, particularly, definitely he was at fault for the third goal, obviously. But I thought he reacted yesterday, and I thought he made big saves. I thought his distribution was fine. Look what happens when you've got two people that are actually calm and composed in front of him instead of erratic Harry. I thought he did well. But to describe him as a penalty shootout hero, yeah. Yeah. But a couple of the penalties were good. Nevertheless, David De Gea said after the game, it was a very tight game. We played a very good team. Brighton play really good football. We are now in the final, but we have another big game on Thursday, so we need to go home and recover. And he's right. We do have a really big game Thursday. I was talking to Fleck as he was driving home yesterday, and we were saying that, let's face it, if we beat Spurs Thursday, top 4, touch wood, it's basically over. Because we're 6 points ahead of them anyway. We've got 2 games in hand. If we beat Spurs Thursday, 9 points ahead of 5th with 2 games in hand, it would be done. It would be done. It would be over. So he's right. We can't dwell on this too much, but that's the name of the show. It's Matchday Reloaded. He continued by saying, they were great penalties. I was prepared as always. I tried to put pressure on the takers, which is quite interesting too, because he can say that he was putting pressure on the penalty takers. But there is a video, I don't know if you've seen this, of Casemiro standing on the halfway line, and he's clearly talking to De Gea, and he's going like this. Now, people at the time thought something's wrong with Casemiro. What's going on with Cas? And basically, he's saying to David De Gea, like, move. Like, put them off. Do something. When they stand on the line, you make yourself big, or you shuffle from side to side, or you do something to try and put them off. And David De Gea wasn't really doing that. And to be honest, Casemiro's theatrics were very, very good. So he can say he was trying to put them off. Maybe it was because he was trying to, say something to them, maybe. I mean, I think it was even before... who was the one that missed it? Was it March? Solly March, I think, missed the penalty for them. I think it was even Weghorst kissed the ball before he gave it to him. That's putting someone off. That's the jinx. That's the judge, the Vout judge. De Gea continued by saying, there's still a long way to the final, but it will be a big game against one of the best teams in Europe and the world. We showed at home we can beat them, City, so let's hope. Let's hope indeed, because I have seen that. I saw that in quite a few of the comments yesterday of people saying, particularly after... I spoke to KG after the game. I saw people saying, why are you so excited? Why are you so gassed? You're playing Man City. You're going to lose. If you play like that, you're going to lose against Man City. Celebration police right round the corner. You're not allowed to celebrate getting in the final, apparently, because we've already lost. No, it's a one-off game. It's a final at Wembley. Man City, in their history, I know it's a different city, but still, in the modern time, they've lost a FA Cup final to Wigan, who got relegated. Anything is possible. And as De Gea says, we've already beaten City this season. It's one apiece. They beat us at the Etihad. We beat them at Old Trafford. And we beat them at Old Trafford with Luke Shaw at centre-back as well. So it is possible. And they've got a lot of stuff going on as well. The Premier League, I think, will be tied up by that point. But after that game, I think the Champions League would be the week after. So we can't give up. If we were just going to give up, we might as well not showed up yesterday, because myself included, I wasn't confident at all yesterday, but we got it done. So you've got to keep fighting. De Gea says we're on the right track. 1 trophy, another final, and fighting for the top 4. It's not enough, but it's a big step from last season. Victor Lindelof, Iceman by name, Iceman by nature. Yeah, that penalty, not only is it cool, composed, calm, it's a brilliant penalty to put your team in the FA Cup final against your local rivals. First ever Manchester derby ever. Over 150 years of the FA Cup. First ever Manchester derby. 1 penalty, 12 yards out. Victor Lindelof, top corner. Yeah? Not even like, he slots it past the top corner. Top bins. That's what Big Vic did. And yeah, I've just crowned him Big Vic. And I think the Iceman's probably better. But he said, it felt great scoring the winning penalty. It was great relief, and we're glad to be in the final. I have confidence in myself, and I knew which penalty I wanted to take, and that's what I did. We defended well. Brighton played well. They are confident with the ball, and it felt good to keep a clean sheet. Erik ten Hag, or should I say Erik ten Hag, after the game, said, on Thursday, I saw a team I didn't recognise, but today we went back to usual. I could see determination and resilience. We fought for every yard and competed in every battle. We had good chances. And I loved this quote from Ten Hag next, when he said, when talking about Victor Lindelof, the Iceman, Big Vic, whatever you want to call him, says he is quite cool when it comes to penalties, and he's quite cool in general. Yes, he is, Eric. He's very cool. Victor Lindelof. And when asked about the centre-back pairing, he said, I thought Victor and Luke Shaw played brilliantly. They had great cooperation with Casemiro when talking about David De Gea. Ten Hag said, I was very impressed with him. He made some brilliant saves. It hurt when he made mistakes on Thursday. Tell me about it. Oh, did it hurt? Often when you make mistakes as a keeper, you get punished. We let him down and we didn't fight back for him. We bounced back today, though. Look at that. Eric Ten Hag. We fought for him. We fought for David De Gea. Excellent stuff. Let's get some reaction. First off, because, I mean, what a crazy, what a crazy morning. This is the problem, Josh. We weren't filming UV Raw. That would have been a heck of an episode, but I don't think that could have actually been aired, to be honest, if that was... Josh said some terrible things. He often does. Let's get some reaction. First from Fleck outside Wembley Stadium. Here's what Fleck's had to say.
About minerals and the fine margins, and we scored a lot of penalties. You saw them, they choked at the first sign. Not the first sign, but eventually it was who's going to be first to choke. And luckily for us, it was Brighton. But not luckily for us, in terms of keeping our composure and our skill, we scored all of our penalties. And players stepped up today in that penalty shootout. Players, you know, Wout Weghorst receives a lot of criticism for not scoring enough goals, gets his penalty down, scores his goal. Sabitzer, new to the team, comes in January. Yeah, Sanchez might have got a hand on it. That's do or die for Sabitzer them. They've scored all of their penalties to that point. Brighton, and Sabitzer needs to keep us in the tie, and he does, scores his penalty. Jadon Sancho, thought he'd come off the bench and looked okay. Some lively little moments, not amazing in open play, that's not what I mean, but again, the bottle, the mentality. Last time he was here with England taking a penalty, we know how that happened. Same with Rashford as well. So for those guys to come through those moments, and all the penalty takers, Casemiro didn't have the best game, but on the flip side, I'm taking the first penalty. I'm going to step up. I'm going to be a leader. And we finished, I think, the game with like 4 first-team starters. So, you know, when you're looking at, you know, the likes of, you know, Sabitzer was on the pitch. Who else took a penalty? Wout Weghorst, you know, Jadon Sancho. These are players that, you know, haven't maybe, you know, lighting it up every single time they play, but they've stepped up in the moments and got us to the final. And just to finish off, look, all of this time we're talking about City doing the 3P, we're talking about City doing the treble, and it's becoming more real now. I've got one message to the players. At the end of the day, I've been in this mode of I want Arsenal to win the league so that, you know, they stop City doing this, and I want Real Madrid to beat them because it stops City doing that. Actually, forget all that. Let's have it. It's a Manchester derby at Wembley in June. Stop City doing it. And it's a chance for us to get another trophy. Yes, we can talk about stopping City do this, stopping City do that. But what about ourselves? Let's look at ourselves first. It's a double bubble. By winning another trophy this season, we can also stop City from winning the treble. And that's what I'm on. Let's focus on ourselves. If we lose against them, then we can't be dependent on Arsenal to have done something, or Real Madrid or AC Milan / Inter Milan to have done something. We didn't do it ourselves. If City get the treble, it's our fault. It's our fault. That's how I see it. Let's have it. And every single one of these Manchester United players should be thinking the same thing. Let's go and beat City in a one-off game in a neutral ground. That place is going to be absolutely rocking with knowing what's on. I know, obviously, we're assuming City would have won the league by then. But you never know. But we're assuming that they will. And I think the Champions League final, should they get there, will be after this game. So, but it doesn't matter. We've got to do our jobs. And our job is to beat Manchester City. And this is coming from me. He's been quite down in the last couple of days because Seville took a lot out of me. I was really, really down after Seville. And to go from that, feeling like I wanted the season to end, to literally 120 minutes of football, very nervous, a big round of penalties. And you know what, for Victor Lindelof to score the decisive penalty, he really deserved that because I think he was excellent. He could have arguably man of the match. Between him and Shaw, man of the match. I know a lot of people gave it to Wan-Bissaka, but Lindelof easily. So that's my man of the match, Lindelof. But for him to be ice-cold vein Lindelof and dispatch that penalty was fantastic. Bring on.
Can I just say as well, the cinematography involved in that, the camera shooting, congratulations, Josh, because I don't know if you were paying attention, you were probably engrossed in what Flex was saying there, but in the background, there's like the whole, like, oh, we're sponsored by EE, the stadium, not us, could you imagine? And the arch goes red and it goes down, it goes, congratulations, Manchester United. Oh, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And as Flex says, bring on City. Bring on City. Why not? That's my question. Why not? In a final, in a one-off game, anything certainly is possible. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Got over 500 people watching. I know we were late, but I feel like this morning the likes are deserved for the effort. The effort was there. Strong effort this morning. Ed's been a member for 6 months. Count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I kind of gave up counting on my fingers there, but 6 months of support. Big up, Ed. And as Flex says, Luke Shaw and Victor Lindelof as the centre-back pairing. I mean, I don't know what you guys are thinking this morning, but that back four we saw yesterday, that's the back four for the rest of the season, let's be honest. And I know that when you talk about Harry Maguire, sometimes people can get a bit irrational, can't they? They can maybe take it too far and they can say things that aren't really focusing on football anymore. But I think, first of all, Luke Shaw, what a footballer. I mean, the progression that we've seen from Luke Shaw this season, and it really has been one of his better seasons at Manchester United. He got a new contract as well. But he's become this real complete talent because he's progressed from just a left back. You know, before he was just a left back, maybe not in the best shape, maybe not taking the best care of himself. Bit of a sick note, often injured, in and out of the side. Obviously had a horrific injury back in, 2015 when he broke his leg against PSV during the Van Gaal era. And actually, that came during his best season, really, I think, in a United shirt. But this season under Ten Hag, not only has he turned himself around physically, you would think mentally as well, but it's now to the point when if you've got Rafael Varane missing, if you've got Lisandro Martinez missing, you're saying to yourself, Luke Shaw coming in, and I know he can do a job. The composure that he showed yesterday, the technical ability he possesses, the positional sense to shift into a left centre back, and it's kind of almost like Martinez-esque, because you would look at Luke Shaw by his stature and his height, and you would say, Premier League, can he really do that? Can he play as a centre back? Is it too physical for him? Is he going to win headers? But his reading of the game is so solid, and his composure and his experience. You got to remember as well, he's been at United since he was what? Early 20s? Was it even younger than that? I mean, he made his Southampton debut, I think, at like 16. He's been playing football at the top level for a really long time, and he's got experience. And this season, I mean, people obviously would talk about players that maybe had better seasons, you know, your Rashfords, your Casemiros, etc. But I think Luke Shaw has to be in that conversation from what he's displayed this season and just how important he is. You can see why United gave him a new contract, because he's more, as I said, than just a left back now. He's a centre back, and frankly, as I said, for the rest of the season, whilst Varane and Martinez are going to be out. Martinez out for the rest of the season. Varane, Ten Hag did say that he hopes he'll be back for the FA Cup final, maybe before then. But just a day or so ago, people were saying he was going to be out for the rest of the season. So I think it's still kind of touch and go. If we had a back four for the rest of the season of Dalot at left back, who I thought did well yesterday, took an excellent penalty, by the way, proper composed, and the two centre-backs of Lindelof and Shaw, and right back, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and we're going to get to Wan-Bissaka after KG because I think he has to have his own segment. That back four can do what needs to be done for the remainder of the season, I think. You look at the opponents that we've got, and we do have difficult games. I think what a perfect time to go to Spurs away, to be honest, just after they've had a horrific result. Some might look at the opposite and say, well, they're going to try and bounce back, and they're fighting for their top four hopes, but they're near enough dead. That back four going away to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I'd say they can get that job done. I'm confident with that. And even, Villa at Old Trafford's going to be a challenging one, but I understand what people were saying after the Sevilla game when they were talking about De Gea and Maguire, and he does breed this erraticness. I'm trying to think of the right word. It's just no composure in there, really, is there? And particularly in retrospect now, looking at that game on Thursday when the atmosphere was so intense and the fans were so up for it in Seville, you needed people that were calm, and you didn't need people that were shaky. And Harry Maguire's very shaky. And not to say that the entire defeat is on him, because it wasn't, because everyone played badly. But as I've said plenty of times before about Maguire, sometimes I feel almost bad for him, because that side, and the style of football that even yesterday that Ten Hag wants to play, it's just not suited for Harry Maguire. He can't keep up with pace. His recovery pace is poor. His mobility just isn't there. And if I was Ten Hag, honestly, I would say, well, it's clearly not broken. Our centre-backs are broken, i.e. they're injured, but that back four is not broken. So I'm not going to try and tweak it and fix it. That's the back four for the rest of the season for me. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I thought the centre-backs pairing were excellent. And Victor Lindelof, I saw it was actually a tweet from Cam, Tactical View, coming out later today too. But I saw Cam said that actually coming out of that defeat on Thursday against Sevilla, he said, well, actually, you know what? Of how bad the defensive display was, Victor Lindelof wasn't terrible. And when he said that, I agreed with him. At the time, I thought, you know what, you're right. Because even on Thursday, you saw Lindelof step out of defence. You saw Lindelof try and maintain composure. But when you've got Maguire next to you and De Gea on the night that were so shaky and were so nervous, there's only so much you can do. And again, I think Victor Lindelof deserves a ton of credit. And this is why all season, and particularly in the last couple of months when people have been saying, oh, in the summer, maybe Maguire goes and Lindelof goes. No. Victor Lindelof, I think he has found his perfect role at United. Victor Lindelof is not a starting centre-back for United. But if Varane's injured, if Martinez is injured, or they're suspended, or they need a break, whatever it may be, if Victor Lindelof is coming in, I'm comfortable because I know he'll do a job. I know he's calm. I know he's composed. And I know he can do enough of everything. He can do enough of everything. He's not as good on the ball as Lisandro Martinez. He doesn't have as much composure or experience as Raphael Varane, and maybe he's not as good in the air as Varane. But he's good enough. He's good enough. I think as a third choice, maybe even fourth choice, but third choice centre back. I think that's his role, and he'll play a lot of games by doing it as well. And Blue Dabba Dabba which I was waiting for you, to be honest. I knew you'd come, okay? Because they say, I've been saying that Lindelof isn't the weakest link. But also, in fairness, and Blue Dabba Dabba, I think you also said that he might have been the greatest centre-back in the world. I mean, I'm paraphrasing there, but that was the sentiment, certainly, as well. Super chat from Umar says, any update on the Man City FFP penalties? I don't know. I mean, the problem is with anything like that, is it will, even if they got punished, it would be appealed, it would be overturned, it would escalate to other courts. I mean, just look at Juventus at the moment. They got docked 15 points, they appealed, they got their 15 points back, but now there's another investigation that's got a criminal element to it. So that's the problem. The business side of football is a very, very, very murky pond, and I mean, it's when that news came out about City and them being investigated a couple of months ago, whenever it was, people sort of rejoiced because they said, finally, because everyone knows what they're doing. Look at Wembley Stadium on Saturday. Both City and Sheffield United. I mean, it was empty seats, FA Cup semi-final, and everyone knows what they're doing. But we saw that video before of their lawyers walking all out. That's football, unfortunately. Let's get some more reaction this time. This is brilliant, right? So after the game, I spoke to one KG, that comedian, okay? He's out in Nigeria currently. He's in Lagos. So from the streets of Lagos, I spoke to KG after the game, and he was very, very happy. In fact, he was standing outside of a chicken shop. That's not why he was happy. He was happy because Manchester United are in the FA Cup final. Here's what he had to say.
Wambi went on the run of a lifetime. I don't know if he saw it, but it was like he dropped the shoulder and he kept on going. And I'm telling you, in Nigeria, they're not sure. They're like, Wambi, which in the day, who is Basaka? That's what they were on that one, yeah. And I was like, listen, I had to bring the Wambi faith, and then they started believing. People say, Wambi, hey. I was gassed. I made them Wambi believers in Nigeria. I don't know how I've done that, but I made it happen because they're seeing it. They're seeing a guy here that is one of the most improved. He's the answer to the right back hand side, fam. And I know that sounds crazy, but he is the answer. It doesn't really rhyme though.
It still works. It still works. But you spoke about the defense, that back four. Is that the back four then we have to have for the remainder of the season now? Lindelof, in the back.
Absolutely. I never, again, just to state this, so people are not, if they're not sure or they don't know how I feel, I never want to see Maguire in a Man United back four ever again. I'm done. I'm finished. Look how good Lindelof was today. Lindelof assured he doesn't need that partner. That partner brings out the worst in him. It's like a bad marriage. It's like someone, when you see a guy and he's really cool when he's not with his missus. Missus comes along and he's terrible. And you're like, mate, and he brings on all the parties, all the holidays. And you're like, mate, we hate her, fam. Stop bringing her. You know what I mean? And that's how we feel about, again, he brings out the worst in Lindelof. Lindelof is a cultured player. He should be the number one out of the two of them. But for some strange reason, our manager continues to use Maguire because he's his captain. He can't use him. Them lot was solid, kept a clean sheet. Matoma, very dangerous. Wan-Bissaka deals with what he needs to deal with. Matoma in a few times. But look at that back four. That was an untried, untested back four. They knew each other. They understood each other's game because everyone was going to take accountability for the way they play. There's somebody that takes no accountability, and you know who his name is. I won't state it, but you all know what I'm saying.
What about David De Gea? Did he prove some doubters wrong today? Yes, he didn't do the best in the penalty shootout, but he made big saves during the game.
Yeah, that was wrong. David De Gea today, I would say, you know what? He made some big saves, but that's what Maguire. I think David. Sorry, I got him on the grain. David De Gea makes some big saves in this moment today, but we have to remember that that's what David De Gea does. A lot of people say, David does this, so you can't really judge him like that, which I think is unfair. But again, he was big today, and he kept them out. He kept us in the game. But what goes as an asterisk towards David Gea name is he can't save a penalty. Like, he can't. Like, unless they just miss, that's the only way it's going to happen. They were shooting. Some of the penalties were ridiculous. I had more faith that the Brighton keeper was going to save it than ours. And that don't make no sense. That's ridiculous. But end of the day, I can't hark onto the negatives. I've got to stay on the positives. Man United, we got through that game. We're into a final. In the first season, you've got to talk about the manager because bloody hell, he had to manage for his life today. And that's what he did. He made some big, huge, ginormous changes. He changed the team pretty much. Changed the style of play. And that's just faith in his team. But again, the Ten Hag deserves all the credit because, sorry, 1 second. Wait, there you go. No. Perfect. Stop moving. Ten Hag deserves all the credit because bloody hell, those boys played mad minutes and they got through it.
That is one of the wildest fan views I think I've ever recorded after a game. And I've done my fair share with KG. But, I mean, to be fair, I've lived it again this morning trying to set all this kind of stuff up. But at one point, if you go back and watch the whole thing, obviously all of the fan views are still up on YouTube. Go and check them out. But if you go watch the whole thing, it starts off his reception and his connection is really, really bad. And eventually he stops and he goes, hey, come back here, get back here. And he's talking to someone off camera. And I'm like, who's he talking to? He went, it's my uncle. He's got the Wi-Fi. and then once he got closer, it did work. And I'm doing my utmost best to keep it together during that because I don't know if he couldn't hear me, but every time I asked a question, someone off camera had to sort of say the question, but it was a little bit different. And it was, you know what it was like? It was like, when a manager from overseas comes to the Premier League and they don't talk great English yet, and the journalists ask them the question and they go, so what do you think you're going to achieve at your time here at Manchester United? And then off camera you hear, and he goes, oh, well, actually, I think, I'm going to achieve quite. It was like that the whole time. So I was like, what do you think of Wan-Bissaka? And he goes, Wambi, what do you think of Wambi? Well, actually, I think Wambi did really, really well. At the end, I go, so can we beat City in the final? City in the final, do you reckon you can beat them? Yeah, I think they could beat them in the final. It was honestly amazing. It was incredible. As Lil Yo-Yo says, Marcel Bielsa settings. It really was. And I was doing my best. I was doing my best to keep it together during the whole thing. No, it wasn't my voice. Luxil says, that was not me. That's not my voice. Because I thought that. I thought, oh, it's feedback. It's just a bit of a delay. But then the questions were different than what I had just said. So, I don't know. Nevertheless, it was hilarious. And Wan-Bissaka, as he mentioned, Wan-Bissaka's the number one right back at Manchester United. I mean, the turnaround that Wan-Bissaka has had post-World Cup is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I saw some stuff after the game yesterday saying that going from in January, he's going to be sold to raise funds and we're going to be getting another right back. And I mean, we've gone through two transfer windows under Ten Hag where the right back was a signing that he wanted to make. He was going for a right back in the summer, make no mistake about it. And we essentially just ran out of cash at the end of it. And if we did have more budget, we'd have got a right back. We were linked to Serginho Dest and others. We're still linked to right backs now, frankly. But in January, it was the same. We're going to probably let Wan-Bissaka go and then get a right back. Yesterday, I mean, I know people like to always say, check in the pockets, you'll find your keys, your wallet, and then the player. But legitimately, Wan-Bissaka yesterday pocketed Matoma, pocketed him. I think the statistic was he didn't complete a successful take-on or dribble past Wan-Bissaka the entire match. Even at one point, I think it was in the first half, it looked like he was going to. He was running across the edge of the box, and he still managed to put a slide tackle in and win the ball. I saw James Maddison on Twitter saying that he's the best one-on-one defender in the Premier League. And that's never really been in question, has it, about Wan-Bissaka? It's about his technical ability. As I said, he suffers from condition, broke foot. But it looks like he's got it under control right now. And he's just been fantastic. He really has. And my question to you would be, UV community this morning then, considering how well he's playing, do we not look at a right back in the summer? Do we say, well, we got Wan-Bissaka and Dalot? Do we need to really address that position? Is it maybe a case of finding another left back if we're saying that Luke Shaw could maybe transition more into becoming a centre back, or is he just still going to be a left back? I mean, I don't know. It's interesting, but he was absolutely brilliant yesterday. As I mentioned, he was fantastic. See what some of you guys are saying in the chat. Lots of people talking about KG's connection. Lux Hill says, correction, best 1v1 defender in the world, Owen, with the eyes emoji. I saw, I think it was at half-time on the BBC coverage yesterday, and I think Gary Lineker said to Alan Shearer, is there a better tackler than Aaron Wan-Bissaka? And do you know what he said? Bruno Guimaraes. I nearly marched down to Wembley myself, scaled into that BBC media box. I was going to throw him out the window. You kidding me? Bruno Guimaraes is a better tackler than Aaron Wan-Bissaka. What are you even doing there, Alan Shearer? Last time I checked, last time Newcastle were at Wembley, we beat them, okay? So stop any of that Bruno Guimaraes stuff. Nonsense. And actually, while I'm on the BBC too, Danny Murphy was on co-commentary yesterday, and basically he was there. He might as well have gone. And beside him, Danny Murphy in his Brighton shirt. Every single time they went a bit close, he was going, nearly. I was thinking, where is the unbiasedness? And whilst I'm talking about unbiased, Craig Pawson, you are a disgrace and you're a cheat, because how long did it take for the referee to book a Brighton player? I'll tell you, the 91st minute is what it took. And it's not even a case of, well, they were doing fouls, but they weren't yellow cards. It was ridiculous. United yesterday, clearly Ten Hag had said, they're better on the ball than us, Brighton. They're going to have more possession. Let's sit back. Let's retain our shape. Let's have tactical discipline. And then when we win the ball back, we'll play on the counter-attack, and we'll see if we can nick a goal like that, or we'll see if we can, put a few passes together, a few long balls. We got pacey wingers, we got Rashford, we got Anthony, we got Martial. Let's see what can happen. And every single time we tried to do a counter-attack, Brighton player pull us down, tackle. Webster must have done it like 3 or 4 times during the game, and I'm talking like cynical tactical fouls. That the definition of a tactical foul is you get a booking for them. He just refused. I mean, I was lucky I was not on the match view, because I was losing my head. I was losing my mind because it was crazy. Go and check out my Twitter account. At one point, they had 10 fouls in the game, half of which were definitely cynical tactical fouls. Nothing. And it took him to book Matoma right at the end of the game for a lunge. I think it was on Casemiro. And then he did it again on De Gea. Of course, it was nothing. They got 1 yellow card, I think, throughout the entirety of the game. Wan-Bissaka at one point ran down the right-hand side. They tried to pull him back. Wan-Bissaka went, get off of me, enough of that. But it was still a cynical foul. And the referee goes, advantage, play on. And you're thinking, well, at least once the move's over, they'll give him the booking. Did he? Oh, I was going to swear then. Did he balls? Because it was ridiculous. Absolute nonsense refereeing. The job of a referee is to make sure that nobody notices you. Be fair and be consistent, because the consistency was not there, because Casemiro makes 1 tackle. 1. Book him. How dare you? How dare you make a tackle, Casemiro? Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. I was incredulous yesterday with that referee. It was just, Star-Lord's been a member for 10 months. I believe Star-Lord was the original member, so I appreciate 10 months of support. I feel better now. Says, we are going to Wembley again twice in one season. In Eric Ten Hag, I trust. Yes, I was very, very, very angry with that referee yesterday. And I hate being that fan that's like, referees are against us, because usually, I would say I don't believe referees, are against Manchester United, but you felt it yesterday, didn't you? You really did. I mean, it was just, it was nonsensical at points. It really was. And then, you know, when you're watching the game and you think, I mean, is this just me? Maybe I'm just seeing this. And then you go online and you're just like full of it. Everyone was saying it was nuts, absolute nuts. I mean, I was very, very angry. Let's get some more reaction, this time from Marcel. I wonder if he had anything to say about David De Gea. Here's what Marcel had to say.
So just take time to breathe and relax. I was hoping it would get done in 90 minutes today, but, you know, we had to go the long distance, the whole game. And the first 20 minutes, Flex, the first 20 minutes for me were a bit frantic. I mean, the whole first half was a bit frantic, you know, to and from, not many chances created. But Eriksen, I think, was really good at creating the tempo and gave a few chances for Bruno to get a couple shots on. I think, you know, that first half, I think we should have been even 2-0 up.
Yeah, there was some kind of nearly moments there where, you know, Bruno gets into a good position. You know, we had some half chances, and you're thinking just a little bit more quality there.
Yeah.
A little bit more quality.
I mean, Eriksen worked the ball into Bruno early, shot a couple
The Eriksen
times.
one as well on the side foot. I thought, take a touch and then drill it. Or try and drill it first time, which would have been hard, but he could have done better.
Flex, we didn't deserve the goals in the first half, but there was opportunities. I think we had the better set of opportunities in the first half. And then, obviously, I don't know what Ten Hag says to the players. It's like the level drops. We've been playing. Brighton came out and then they were dominant for the next 20 minute spell of the second half. And I think it's the fact that we've played so many games. They had a week to prepare for this fixture. We've obviously had the poor Seville game, but David De Gea, and I'm a critic of his, but he was fantastic in between the sticks today in terms of the saves. You know, they were big saves for us. We needed them. It's funny, I've been saying it a lot this season. His distribution is poor, and you saw that today, but then the saving is world class, and I mention it every time, and it was fantastic today. That back four as well, a lot of people I think have mentioned it around me when I was watching the game. Shaw and Lindelof was fantastic. They didn't make any mistakes, Flex. Lindelof normally is very timid, a bit shy, a bit weak, but was quite strong and knows how to play in the system. Knows where to pass the ball, driving with the ball well. And Wan-Bissaka was one of the best players on the pitch.
Wicked, man. I just can't go over his performance and just his performances in general. Like, he's just a completely different player. But on Lindelof, I agree. Like, he always wants the ball. He's good with the ball, both feet. He can calm it down. You know, he puts in, even when he comes across and gets the foul off Welbeck because he intercepts it,
Body
has to be there, body, so he can do the ugly side as well, which hasn't, you know, sometimes we've always questioned that side of Lindelof. Is he too nice? Is he too neat and tidy? Has he got a bit of grit about him? And he's showing that.
Yeah, in abundance as well. He was a solid player today. I even think, not Luke Shaw, Malacia when he came on was a bit solid as well. And Delo was good. Delo played well today and in a difficult position in the left back, but he's really good with those inverted runs. He was doing a little bit of synergy with Rashford, doing a little bit of synergy and link up with Sancho, who, by the way, Sancho today, I think he had good moments. Against Seville. I think got subbed off at half time. So an improvement from that performance.
And also on him, how pleased are you to see him score that penalty? Because the mentality needed to do that. I know it's, you know, open play and we want more and stuff, but when it comes to knockout football like that, in their moments of score your penalty, having missed the penalty here at the same venue a couple of years ago in the Euros, like, to come back and do that, you know, that showed a lot of bottle from him there. He showed bottle there, didn't he?
Bro, a big point. I mean, you know, him, Weghorst, and I'm looking at these kind of players, you know, and then I'm looking at it, and the first two penalty takers, no striker. I'm thinking, oh, where's the confidence gone?
Yeah.
No real hitter.
Stepping up saying, I'll take it.
You know, there's no real hitter, you know, that's a goal scorer, recognised goal scorer taking the first two.
You know, coming off, didn't you?
Yeah. Delo, really comfortable. I was nervy moment for him as well. Young player, not really, still coming into it, maturing as a player. Good penalty. Top corner from Sanch.
All our pens were good.
Yeah,
Sabitzer with the you know, you talk about pressure. Sabitzer has the decider.
Yeah.
Well, not decider, sorry, to keep us in the game. You know, missed that and it's done. Game over. Yeah. It holds his nerve, you know. So
there's character in this side.
Exactly.
There's character in this side. I think it was a mentality monster kind of game today because we've played already just a few days.
I tell you what, the chat is a violation. I mean, it really is. Nessie, one of our members, has said, Chat GPT Marcel. Lots of people saying it's a Marcel doppelganger because he was praising David De Gea. Made big saves. I'm telling you now, Fleck, he made big saves. He made big saves yesterday. He did make big saves yesterday. And I'm really glad they brought up Jadon Sancho as well. Because when Sancho came on, I've got mixed feelings about Jadon at the moment. Sounds like we're in a relationship. I've got mixed feelings on him because I still think he should do more, and I think he's capable, I would hope, of more, and there's expectation on him. And I think sometimes we forget, don't we, about the numbers that he had when he was at Borussia Dortmund. I mean, when Flex said them to me the other day, I went, oh my goodness me. Like, you kind of remember what United thought they were getting with him and the huge wage that he's on, and it hasn't worked out. And after the Sevilla game, he was one of those names that even the media were reporting that could be potentially up for sale in the summer. And whilst when he came on yesterday, I still wasn't blown away by him, and I'm still not super convinced by him. It really frustrates me when he bottles 50-50 tackles because he does it a lot. But what I will say is I think he showed a lot of bottle in that penalty shootout, because obviously we know what happened the last time he took a penalty at Wembley, right? In the biggest moment of his career, European Championship final. He was one of the few that missed it, him and Rashford. But yesterday, particularly Sancho, with everything that he has been through this season and a lack of confidence, a crisis of confidence, if you will, having to go away and then come back and kind of hopefully find himself a little bit once again, that took a lot of bottle. And not only did he score the penalty, but he put it right in the top corner. And I wasn't confident with any of the penalties, but when Sancho stood up, I really worried for him. I feared for him, because I remember obviously last time and the fallout for it. But it was excellent, and I think he deserves a ton of credit for that. I think he does. And here's hoping for him and a couple of them. You know, that penalty shootout, those moments will be enough to kind of spur them on for the rest of the season and maybe make a bit of decent form. Here's hoping. So again, I think he deserves credit for that. Super chat from Keegan says, what are we saying about Rashford? Is the golden period done, or are we going to see some more? He will be crucial against Spurs. #Glazers out. Well, you know what? It was funny with Rashford yesterday, because he was frustrating me quite a bit during that game. And I quite sympathised for Diogo Dalot at left back, because on the right-hand side, we spoke about, you know, Wan-Bissaka and how well he was playing. But in addition to that, you know, Wan-Bissaka was dealing with Matoma, but he also needed support. And this is the thing with Anthony, isn't it? Is you cannot fault Anthony's work rate. His work rate, his work ethic. If he gives the ball away, or if he's not that involved in the game, you know, fundamentally, he is going to do his defensive duties. He is going to make sure that gets done. He is going to support his fullback. He's going to be up and down the touchline. He's going to be keeping his tactical shape, his defensive shape, and he's going to be trying to win the ball back. And I think we saw that throughout the game yesterday, of him doing the dirty stuff, doing the side of the game that some players don't want to do. In comparison, left-hand side of the pitch, I felt bad for Dalot, because Rashford wasn't really doing all that much tracking back. And he wasn't super involved in the game a couple of times. I mean, in the second half, he had that chance where he kind of shifted it onto his I think it was his right foot, and he kind of scuffed it or sliced it. But he didn't play amazingly well yesterday. He still, to me, does look like a player that was maybe, I would say, rushed back, but he doesn't, I don't think, look 100% sharp just yet. Against Sevilla, I mean, everyone was poor, so it's difficult to say. But and he came off the bench during that game. I always felt like the game against Brighton was the game they were trying to get him back for, and I still am not 100% sure if he's fully fit at this moment. Like, he might be carrying something. And if that is the case, you know what? We are at this point of the season where it's actually like, then you don't have to play him at this point. It's not like before where, if we don't play Marcus Rashford, we're not going to win, because, you know, you look at the opposition in the league. Again, 6 points ahead, 2 games in hand. And if we beat Spurs, and maybe he'll play against Spurs, and then maybe after that you go, okay, then maybe take him out of the team for a couple of games, because he still does need to recover. We're not going to have those Europa League, those 2 weeks of playing on Thursday and Sunday again. And possibly that's a benefit. Not that I'm trying to make excuses for us going out of the Europa League or anything like that, but I do think that maybe that it might take a bit more time to get him back to 100%, because he didn't look like it yesterday, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but he just didn't look like he was fully, totally up to speed just now. But again, that's hopefully by the time the FA Cup final rolls around in June. In June, by the way, ages away. I think it's like 6 weeks or something, isn't it? Hopefully by then he'll be up to speed, certainly. Let's get some more reaction. I spoke to Mina after the game. Here are Queen Mean's thoughts on us going to Wembley once again.
I would think so. I think even Dalot on the left, he had some times when he was doing things in possession that he ended up getting dispossessed. But he's a player that has played on the left side. He used to play on the left side for Porto. When he first came into United, I remember he played a few games for us on the left as well. And I would rather have Wan-Bissaka as the starting right back. So if that means Dalot has to play as the left back, then I'm okay with that. Malacia, it's good to have that option because we're so thinned in terms of squad rotation in the back line. I'm okay with having that. But if someone like Luke Shaw gets injured, then I'm worried. Then, I'm worried. And, when we think about, I don't want to think too far ahead because we've got a lot more fixtures. But when you think about the last time we played City with a Varane and Luke Shaw centre-back partnership. And I'm not sure what Raphael Varane's situation is, but Luke Shaw has shown time and time again that he has the attributes and the quality to play as a left-sided centre-back. And it's really helpful because he's so good in possession. And what you need is a centre-back that's good in possession. Lindelof is good too, but Luke Shaw is just that step ahead. And even though we are missing Martinez, going forward in terms of, building out from the back, having Luke Shaw in that position really, really does help.
You spoke about, obviously, how it was a strange game and that both teams kind of cancelled each other out a bit. Did it surprise you to an extent to see Erik ten Hag actually say, you know what, we tried to play a certain style this season, but today it was really back to the past, really, actually, because he was like, no, we're going counter-attack. We'll allow Brighton to have the ball and then just see if we can pick them off on the break. Was that, in retrospect, I guess we won, so it worked, but were you surprised to see that from Ten Hag?
No, because when you're missing so many key important ingredients to play the way that you want to play. So I think he maybe has realized that with the players that he has now have to call upon, that he might not be able to play how he wants to play. And rather than being stubborn and trying to play how he wants to play. And we've seen that at the beginning of the season when Brighton slapped us 4-0, that his stubbornness in terms of building out from the back costed us, because the players were not able to do that at that given time. I think he realized now that sometimes you just have to revert back to basics. And I can't be that mad about it because if Brighton were more clinical in front of goal, that plan would have failed immensely. But they were just not clinical in front of goal. And so allowing them to have more possession of the ball, it kind of worked in our favor. Casemiro, I think, had a very average game. I don't think he was amazing. I feel like the last few games he's kind of gone under the radar. I don't know if he's playing like he doesn't want to put a challenge in. Maybe he thinks that he's going to get
still
sent
got
off.
booked though.
still got booked today. But I feel like maybe he's a bit skeptical to put in a challenge and play with that passion because that might result in him getting a suspension, which I completely understand that. But I think the game changed in terms of playing how Ten Hag wanted to play when Fred came on because we were missing that press in the middle.
Big up Mina as always. I do want to talk about Bruno Fernandes because Bruno Fernandes, we always say the best ability is availability. It's a saying that's very popular in UVHQ. And it's certainly true about Bruno Fernandes because Bruno is... I still don't really understand the criticism against him sometimes. We're never going to win anything with Bruno Fernandes. Oh, we're not going to win trophies with him as our captain. We're not going to win things with him in the side. And every single time this season when he hasn't played, which I think it's only been like twice, but when he's not been available, is Aston Villa away, Unai Emery's first game, and Thursday against Sevilla. And oh my goodness me, when he doesn't play, you notice. You really notice it in this United side. They don't have the same intensity. They don't have the same link-up. They just don't have the same creativity as well. And I literally, one of the notes I made when I was watching the game yesterday, after like 20 minutes, was you can really see the difference in this United side when Bruno Fernandes plays. He's involved in everything. And that first 20 minutes particularly, he was finding the gaps. He was linking up with Eriksen. He was linking up with Rashford. He was linking up with Martial. He's just so important. And he is a leader. And yeah, he frustrates people. And yeah, he might roll around on the floor and people can call him petulant, all that kind of stuff. But as Bruno says, I can't change that at this point. That's how I play. I have to play like I'm on the edge. And it works. And I think sometimes you don't know what you've got until you don't have it anymore. And when we haven't had him this season, on both occasions, you go, oh my goodness, we really miss Bruno Fernandes. So he's going to be so important for us as well. And I thought he played well yesterday too. I mean, to be honest, I was nervous and I was worried when I saw Bruno come off. And I was in extra time, I believe it was, or just before full time. Forget whenever it was. It was towards the end of the game, and Bruno came off. I was really surprised by that because I thought you felt that this game was really going to penalties, didn't you? You could feel it. Both teams were really effectively cancelling each other out. And when he took Bruno off, I thought, wow, that's a surprising one because he would have taken a penalty. He'd have probably taken the first one. But shout out Casemiro, because I don't know if you've seen the video doing the rounds on social media where he's... Steve McLaren's there, and I think he's trying to figure out who's going to take the penalties and all this kind of stuff. And you can clearly see him go, okay, who's going to do the first one? And Casemiro goes, me. I'll take the first one. Because it's nothing to him. It's nothing. When you've achieved everything that he's done and played in big finals and played in big matches, take a penalty kick in the FA Cup semi-final. Yeah, piece of piss. No problem. I'll do it. Yeah, easy. And it was no problem. He is just big game Miro, a big game Cass, whatever you want to call him. And he wasn't even that good yesterday, Casemiro. I think since his suspension, he's come back and he's not been that great, honestly. I don't know if it's because he's playing within himself a little bit because he doesn't want to get sent off. I mean, he still managed to get booked in both games. He was booked against Sevilla, which was unfortunate for him. He would have missed the semi-final had we gone through. And he got booked yesterday. But I feel for him because it's getting to the point now where it's become a thing. He does one tackle that's a foul and he gets booked. He doesn't get away with it anymore. I mean, he's missed how many games this season? Is it like 9 games through suspension? So I can understand why he would feel that referees would have it out for him, honestly. But again, that's what you need. You need leaders. You need people that have experience in winning things. And certainly people like Casemiro, they're invaluable. Let's get some more reaction, this time from Cam. As mentioned, tactical views coming out later today. But here is a little preview of what Cam's thoughts are after the game at Wembley yesterday.
Huge performances. There's a backline we haven't seen before, but they all played brilliantly. All 4 of them, fantastic. Wan-Bissaka, I've got to say, that one moment in the second half where I skipped past about 5-6 players, he turned that game. That was the catalyst for our 15-20 minutes of good pressure in that second half. And it's all come from him.
What's he on? What's Wan-Bissaka actually on? Like what? Like, because when he did that, he took on like 2 or 3 guys. It just turned the screw. He kept Matoma vaguely quiet for most of the game. Like, he's unreal at the moment.
That was like Ronaldinho. Like, I don't know what I'm watching. He's just beat like 3 or 4 players, done a different thing every time. He's clipped it over the first one, then he's done some footwork, faced up the second one, got round him, and then he's just kept going. He got fouled. He's going.
Playing out of this world, isn't it, Wan-Bissaka?
He's playing out of his skin. There's no way, with the way he's playing, that we need a new right back. In terms of in the summer, out of all the things we've got to do, that's got to be bottom of the list now.
Do you know what's really funny about this as well? You as well, in the first 2 games of the season, or no, it was after Liverpool when we started winning a bit. We stood up outside our shot, and you said Wan-Bissaka is done. He is finished. You could tell. Eric Ten Hag. Remember? Look now.
I remember that clip's come back in my face. It's all over TikTok. People are like, there's a call with a comp afterwards of everything he's done good after that.
Yeah, but that's what it's about, isn't it? With new evidence presented to you, you change your opinion.
Yeah, you have to. And look, if you've seen that with Wan-Bissaka, there's no reason to think that any of Eric Ten Hag's targets, if he's turned Wan-Bissaka into a player like that, he can do anything. If he wants Jude Bellingham, he's not the greatest player in sort of certain areas of the pitch right now, but if he's done that with Wan-Bissaka, of course he can do it with anyone else he wants. So look, I trust Eric Ten Hag with everything I've got.
Yeah.
Whatever he wants, just give it to him, because you can see how good this guy is. Today, the most important thing, tactically we had a really good setup. It was a lot of man-for-man stuff. You saw Luke Shaw, you saw Lindelof following the Brighton players as they dropped in. Whether it was Welbeck dropping in, whether it was Undav, whether it was Enciso dropping into that gap, they were following them all the way. At times, there was a bit of a weird thing going on where we had our front 5 really high, and then the rest of the next 5, sort of the back 4 and Casemiro on the halfway line. There's a big gap, a little bit too much space. That will be worked on in time. But I think between getting the tactical plan right and managing the load of the players, because they're all exhausted. They played far too many minutes, so we can't press them for 90 minutes. That's not what we can do. And you can see we had sort of 15, 20 minute spells where we went aggressive, we tried to press them, did things we could do, and then we sat off, we're a bit more passive, saved energy, because you have to. At this time, this sort of part of the season, they haven't recovered fully. You need to do that. And it was a brilliant bit of game management. Yes, we got maybe a little bit fortunate that they weren't as clinical as they could have been, but the game management was fantastic from Ten Hag and fantastic from the players on the pitch as well.
Yeah, we knew that it was going to be a tight game. We knew that it was going to be almost like a game of chess tactically. De Zerbi, how many times did they lure us into their centre-backs and then bang, outlet pass? Or how many times did they have someone dropping off the front and a ball around the corner and a third-man run? Their setup is great. They're really well coached. And their patterns were more obvious than what we were trying to do at this stage, which is incredible with what De Zerbi's done in that short space of time. But everyone's having a lot of praise for the defence today in general, from left back all the way through, but in particular the centre back pairing today in Luke Shaw and Victor Lindelof.
I think you can see the balance that we've got from having the left footer on the left. Luke Shaw, it's just because when he's sort of going a little bit wider to clear things. He's got that foot, he can curve it round into a channel, put the ball vaguely near Rashford. It helps a lot in terms of getting us out of the press, getting us up the pitch, and defensively is fantastic. I think obviously he's not really played up against a big striker today. He's been able to match everyone that Brighton have for pace, really. He did a really good job of reading the game, going in high to press when he needed to, and dropping off and covering Lindelof when he had to as well. I think Ten Hag said before the game that with Lindelof and Shaw, they haven't played together before, but they've worked on anticipating the actions that Brighton do. As you were saying, the third man runs, the combinations, the way they like to play. They've practiced that enough times, and it's nice to see that both Lindelof and Shaw are intelligent enough to bring that into the game and not switch on.
Big up Cam, as always. As I mentioned, Tactical View will be coming out later today, so you can see the tactics behind the penalty victory. It'll be interesting to see what he says, actually, because I felt personally it was a game that, again, both sides really cancelled each other out. And in addition to that, I felt that Ten Hag actually paid a lot of respect to Brighton for how he really changed the way he played. I mean, we didn't really play possession-based football. We went back to the United of old, really, over the last few years, which was counter-attacking and keeping our defensive shape and our sort of outer possession shape very tactically rigid, and we had to be really tactically disciplined, and I think we did that too. So it's going to be a fascinating watch, certainly later on today. Let's get some more reaction. As I mentioned, I'm rapidly running out of time, so we'll see what Rich had to say outside Wembley. Here were his thoughts.
Like you said, it's in the land of the gods because it's just a lottery, penalties, right? Well, first of all, at the end of the Sevilla game in the play ratings, I said we're going to win this game. Bounce back FC, yeah, bounce back FC.
Back FC.
Like we something that Ten Hag has done to this team is make sure that they can get the next result, you know. And like I think Cam said it, we kept the clean sheet again, you know. And it's I feel so drained. I'm not like, honestly, like after that, like I was, like, you can see here my voice is going because it was tense, you know. Like I think overall we played well. Like you just said, you know, in the final third it was a bit, you know, we weren't
didn't
really
create as much
comfortable.
maybe clear cut.
Exactly.
Couple like moments where we got there
Yeah.
and it's like, that pass was probably the wrong one, or
Exactly.
that shot was probably the wrong
Exactly.
one. But we managed to just hang on in and defend properly.
Exactly right, and you know, Anthony had a couple shots where he was just passing to the keeper.
Yeah.
You know, Sancho when he came on once again, he didn't really give me as much as I'd like, but you know, I guess he kept the ball well a few times, played a few good passes. But you know, in the end, it was just about grit, pure grit. You know, the guys had to persevere. We're probably going to talk about it a few times, but Shaw, for me, coming into that defence made a huge difference. We were able to push up a little bit higher. Lindelof was clearly a lot more comfortable on the right-hand side with him rather than Maguire. You know, the first 10 minutes of that game, you know, you're thinking, don't make any mistakes.
Yeah.
Don't make any mistakes. But then you look at it, they're a lot more assured. You know, there's no one
that
there.
word there, assured. Like Brighton are good.
Yes,
But
very
like
good.
when you, like you said, when you're in the first couple of exchanges, you're like, you know what? Yeah, we can defend all right with this makeshift back four. This looks all right.
Exactly, and that's what Martinez used to give us, right?
Yes.
Or what during the season. In the first 10-15 minutes of the game, he'll clatter into someone. Remember that Liverpool game?
Yeah.
He clattered into Salah.
Yeah.
And he said, look, this is what this game is about. Like, and that's what Martinez and Varane gave us. Maguire doesn't give us that. He tries it and then you get a yellow card. And then, like, you know, it breeds that kind of insecurity, that nervousness throughout the team. We've said it many times, he just makes us nervous watching him. But let's not talk about Maguire. These boys on the pitch, absolutely amazing. Wan-Bissaka, my days. Like
That I think it was like, when was it? Like the 60-something minute or something? He's just done a madness.
Yeah, mate.
He's just done a madness.
I was mind blown. You know, he was, first of all, he clamped up. I love Matoma, right?
Yeah.
I think Matoma was an amazing player, right? He clamped him down. Like Matoma didn't have a sniff. There was a time when Matoma was running, I was like, Wan-Bissaka's not there. Wan-Bissaka, like, and then he just came out nowhere. I think it was on the edge of the box. He just took the ball off him. And yeah, that moment you're talking about where he had 3 Brighton players on him, he spun them,
And the liner was waving for a free
foul.
kick, and he's like, nah,
I got this.
and then he composes himself and picks out the pass as well, not just a rushed, you know what I mean, rash cross or something like that. It's wicked.
Honestly, 2-3 months into the season, we were saying this guy's done. We were saying he's finished, you know. And the mentality. I saw an interview that he did recently. The mentality of the guy is different league. You know, we can give Ten Hag the credit and say, look, he's changed the players. He's given them instructions and rules, but it all depends on that player to take on board what he said, right? And he's clearly taken it on board, and he's running.
Big up, Rich, as always, outside Wembley. So there you go, guys. Another edition of Matchday Reloaded here. It goes past just like that, doesn't it, here at Panenka Studios? Although, I mean, again, it was a delayed start, but I was just chatting off camera there. I feel like we've got it sorted. Now, I know the last 2 Matchday Reloadeds I've had... first of all, I had Virgin Media, which is a disgrace, and I'm coming for you today, Virgin Media. You have no idea, okay? but maybe by the time the full view comes around later today, it should be fixed. If it's not, you will see a very unhappy and angry Owen on full view. So be sure to tune in, 6 o'clock. It's going to be a great show. But finally, to end on a bit of positivity, can we beat Manchester City at Wembley in the FA Cup final? Over 150 years, the FA Cup's been around. Never have we had a Manchester derby in the final. Can we beat City? Of course we can. Of course we can. We're not the favourites, and we'd be naive to think that we were. Nobody's saying we're the favourites, but we can beat City. We've done it this season. There's a lot going on for them, and it's now in our hands. You know, forget relying on Arsenal. Is Arsenal going to win the league? Are they going to stop City? Forget relying on Real Madrid or whoever's left in the Champions League. Rely on ourselves. It's in our hands. We can stop Manchester City, and we can beat them in a one-off game with some players maybe back by then. Anything certainly is possible. Anyway, guys, have a great Monday, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.